any government or any aspirant for office who is coming in because they are aware there are problems and they have ideas on how to fix them. So for you to already be saying that we should be aware that there were these problems on ground, that's already to me sounding like a cop-out. Like you're already laying the ground for excuses, and that excuse is not tenable because you took over from the same party. When it was APC taking over from the PDP in 2015, they could say, and they said throughout their 8-year tenure, all they kept saying was, oh, the PDP really messed up the country. What we met on ground was really bad. We've been having to deal with all these issues that were caused by the PDP. But now you have an APC government handing over to an APC government, so there is no excuse. You can't blame your fellow party member because it's the same party. And at the end of the day, it's the party that sets the agenda and sends their representatives out to go and achieve the mandate that the party has set. So there is no excuse. And I wasn't happy when I heard that, because it sounds to me like that's the beginning of a plethora of cop-outs, whereby any little thing that happens, they'll say, oh, it's because of what we met on ground. Oh, the economy was bad when we came in. Oh, unemployment was high when we came in. Oh, inflation was high when we came in. Of course, all these things were on ground, and you knew that these issues were on ground when you put yourself forward for office. So it is your responsibility, without harking back to what your predecessor did, it's your responsibility to embrace these issues, come up with solutions for them, and move forward. So I would say, well, let's wait and see. He's given them 3 years to hit their targets, all his ministers. He's given them 3 years out of a 4-year first term. He's given them 3 years to hit their targets, and he believes that if everything works according to the 8-point agenda that they have put in place, or that they've at least drawn up, that things will improve in the economy and the lives of the average Nigerian will be better. Well, we wish him luck and we hope it works out that way.
Now, through the Minister of Trade and Investment, the federal government is not in a position to borrow money at this time. He added that the emphasis is on how to create macroeconomic environments, and to achieve this for both investors, that they need to create at least 15 million jobs for Nigerians. What do you think about this agenda there?
All of it is a very, very tall order, because first and foremost, to say we are not going to borrow, while that is a laudable objective, is a laudable goal, how easy is it going to be to achieve? Because revenue sources are down. As of yesterday or a few days ago, I think getting reports that 400,000 barrels of oil are still being misappropriated on a daily basis. So oil, of course, is a major revenue generator. And if oil is not performing optimally in terms of how much we are getting out of the ground, where is the money going to come from? I know the idea probably is to look more at internally generated sources for revenue, since we don't want to borrow. So by and large, that means tax. But you can only tax people who are doing well. You can only will be comfortable with paying taxes when they're doing well. If you already have very high unemployment, the number of people that are employed, how much taxes can you take from them before it becomes burdensome? So yeah, the idea of getting foreign direct investment is a good one, but no foreigner is going to come into a country where there's insecurity. So you have to solve the security problem first before you begin to talk about attracting foreign direct investment. There are so many issues that plague us that will make it challenging for any foreign major entity to want to come in and put their money in a country where security is not stable. Look at just the other day, GSK, a major fast-moving consumer goods company in Nigeria, said it was closing operations and moving out. So when you see a GSK moving out, you don't expect to see many others moving in its place, except they have some other different metrics that they're using to measure the circumstances in terms of potential profitability. How 18 million jobs are going to be created in the next 3 years, it remains a wonder to me, but that is not to say it is not doable. And that's what the president said yesterday that resonated with me most. He said to his ministers, he said, many people will say these are objectives are not doable. He said, but let that word not come to any of our minds. Let's not say anything is impossible. Let's go out there and achieve these objectives. Nothing is impossible. So that gives me a ray of hope that they will try kinds of financial engineering. And in terms of the economic team, the Minister of the Economy, the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Minister of Trade, Budget and Planning, the people in those key places are competent people. So let's give them a bit of a timeout and let's look at their initial moves and see what they begin to do. I mean, I saw the Minister of Technology and Innovation, Boso Tijani, I listened to him yesterday, and he was talking good. He was talking a good game, and he talked about $500 million that has been appropriated for technology hubs and a lot of youth empowerment in the country. So, look, the whole idea is that every new administration that comes in is coming in on hope. I mean, the electorate is pinning a lot of hope on any new administration. And that's the whole purpose of a 4-year cycle. Every time we cycle and we start again, it's because we want to have faith and belief that this is a new beginning. So we always have a rosy outlook towards any new administration in the belief that they will do better for us than the circumstances they met us. So we have to give them that opportunity to make or mar our hope, our optimism. So for now, they are still riding, the new administration is still riding on a wave of great optimism. They are still in the honeymoon period. In spite of what seems like some false starts in the last 100 days, by and large, Nigerians are still optimistic that this government will do better for us than the last one did. So, some of the early moves they are making are too complicated for lay people like us in terms of economic strategy and things like that. We can't decipher them. There are a lot of national security issues that we are not privy to. So we have to just trust that we have made the right decision at the polls, and let us leave it to them to try and pull us out of the morass we are in and improve our lives.
The special advisor to the president, he said that President Tinubu has benchmark for performances and that he will not permit failure and will sack any ineffective ministers. What do you think about this? Do you think this will make the ministers work harder, or do you see it as just an empty threat?
Well, I think it should go without saying that in any work environment, underperformance should be penalized and achievement should be rewarded. So I don't think such threats are necessary, because I think it goes without saying. I think it's part of the understandings of entering into any employment is that performance is key. And so the question I would ask the president is, how do you measure underperformance in that situation? What metrics do you want to use to measure who is performing well and who is not performing well? Let's say, for example, the coordinating minister of the economy. Is it that after 3 years, if unemployment is not down, if inflation is not down, if the cost of goods in the market has not reduced, if petrol queues have not disappeared, if Naira is not readily available at the ATM machines, what metrics will you use to measure performance? I think it's easy in certain roles to be able to say, okay, here are your KPIs, your key performance indexes. I give you this, and this time window to achieve. But in governance, by and large, there's a much bigger picture. I mean, you're looking at 3 years, you're looking at a 4-year tenure, and you're looking at a macroeconomic picture, which means the larger scale. So you're talking about well-being. You're talking about our overall well-being. You're talking about power supply. You're talking about education. You're talking about health. So yeah, there are some indices by which you can measure. Okay, so the general hospitals, how many vaccinations are available? How many injections are available? How many new beds have you created? How many people have died from lack of blood supply? So there are certain things you can use to measure performance. But in a macroeconomic situation, it is a holistic picture. It's difficult to look individually and say one person did well, one person didn't do well, one person did well, you did. It is the whole government that we will grade, is what I'm saying. It's the overall performance of the government that the electorate will look at and say, yes, I'm better off in all aspects of my life. So I'm not sure how we will measure who is performing and who is not performing, because really at a political level, it's really who can talk a good game. Because remember, the ministers themselves, they're just administrators and coordinators. They don't actually physically go and do the job. That's why you see many of them are not professionals in the ministries they gave them. They are not, maybe not, look at, for example, Wike was put in the FCT. Okay, he has a reputation for infrastructure. But if you look at many of the other ministries, you'll see that the places the people were put has nothing to do with their education or with their background or their experience. So that's because their role is to inspire the civil servants, inspire the permanent secretaries, and carry the electorate along. A minister is more of an ambassador than actually a hands-on micromanager. He just oversees the whole thing. He sells the vision and gives it to others to implement on his behalf. So I don't know how exactly he will measure performance or non-performance, but well, it's a good thing that he has told them this. I would assume that this would go without saying, that if you don't work to our expectations, we'll get rid of you. I assume that's standard operating procedure, but he must have had his reason for saying it. So let's see how it goes.
All right, I'm still talking about the president, the election. Of course, we know the election is still in court, and according to Abure, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is expected to come on before September 16. Now, while speaking to some Nigerians in the United States during his tour to the country, he said Obi, who came third in the presidential election that was held in February, will be declared the president of Nigeria if the judgment comes out. What do you think about Abure's statement?
Well, no politician ever believes they won't win. Not just in Nigeria. The only difference is that in Nigeria, when we don't win, we challenge. We're bad losers. We're sore losers. We don't accept defeat readily. But no politician anywhere in the world, even in America, the day before the election, you will see the polls are saying that you are losing badly, you are coming last, and you see them on TV saying, we are going to win tomorrow. Yeah, we got this, man. We're going to win tomorrow. So politicians are incurable optimists. So I listened to Abure yesterday, and the first question that came to my mind is, how do you leapfrog from third to first? How do you go from third to first? Even if you legitimately think you won, you came third, somebody else came second. So it means you first have to nullify the person that they say won, then you also have to nullify the person that they say came second, and then now figure out how you are going to leapfrog from third to first. But there's precedent for it in Nigeria. After all, in Imo State, the person who came fourth got declared first. The current governor, Obi'll, when he ran for his first term, he came fourth. And by some kind of legal maneuvering, the Supreme Court managed to rule that the person who came first, second, and third were disqualified. And so it was the fourth that was now declared the winner. So if that kind of magic has happened before, I can't blame anybody for being optimistic and saying that third can become first. But by and large, truth be told, my sense is that the best hope that a third place contender can hope for is a rerun. I think it's like trying to pass a needle, a camel through the eye of a needle to anticipate that the third can automatically leapfrog and be declared first. If it were the person who came second that was saying this, we can say, oh yeah, I can see a legal pathway for any court to find discrepancies in the declaration of the winner and nullify that and give to the second. But I think it's a very long shot to expect disqualification of the first, disqualification of the second, for the third to now find himself declared winner. But nothing is impossible in Nigeria. Obviously, the Labour Party believes they've put a good case forward. They've made a good case, and they're standing strong by their case. September 16 is just a couple of weeks away. We will find out sooner or later, and I wish everyone well. My wish is the best for Nigeria. Is that whoever is going to do the best for Nigeria is who should lead us. We shouldn't be partisan. Yeah, we have partisan biases, but at the end of the day, our overriding interest should be how Nigeria will move forward, how the lives of each of us individually will be better. And it's whoever is going to do that for us that we should all back and support at the end of the day.
We'll find out September 16. Now let's move on. We were talking earlier about the unemployment rate in Nigeria. MBS recently released a report and they put employment rate at 4.1%. And the former statistician general of Federation, Chief Executive Officer of the National Bureau of Statistics, that's Dr. Yemi, he said that they ought to further change the country's unemployment data gathering methodology during his time as head of the statistic body. Because of course Nigerians are questioning the NBS reports, saying that the new method they use might not be correct. But what do you think about the report that was released by NBS?
Yeah, you see, the thing about it is, I understand that the global community has restructured the way it calculates unemployment, and that even if you work for 1 hour a day for 5 days a week, 2,000 naira in those 5 days, you are considered employed. But that is theoretical, that's on paper. In reality, the reality on ground is that if you're only working 1 hour a day, maybe, when you go to market, you go to Ojuwoye or go to Balogun or Idumota, any of these places, for example, you have these ladies who will help you carry your load to your car. So let's assume that they carry 5 loads in a day and they work for 5 days a week. How much are they making to take home at the end of the day? Do you consider that to be employment? The idea behind measuring unemployment is to know how many people can fend for themselves. But there are some jobs that don't pay you enough to fend for yourself. So if we are saying employment is 4.1% simply because people in the informal economy, people who are unskilled, I was talking about the 4.1%. I said it looks good. It looks good on paper, but it's not the reality on ground, because it's just a measure of economic rearrangement to say that anybody who's working for a minimum of 1 hour a day is employed. That doesn't capture a reality on ground at all. That's far from the reality. Even people who are working 10 hours, 20 hours, they are as good as unemployed because they are not making a living wage. I think the measure of employment should be those who are earning a living wage, or at least the minimum wage. Even the minimum wage we are complaining is not a living wage. And by living wage, what it means is that what you earn is adequate for you to have a barest minimum existence, a roof over your head, food to eat, etc., etc. But if we say, okay, let us measure by those who are earning at least the minimum wage. So let us take those who earn at least 30,000 naira a month, which is 1,000 naira a day. Would we still say 4.1% unemployment in the country? I don't think so. I think there are several million who are not earning 1,000 naira a day. Several million. So I would say, let's not deceive ourselves, because that 4.1% can delude us into a sense of security, a sense of completeness, that unemployment is not an issue, we've wrestled it to submission, it's just a mere 4%. I think if we face the reality and we're putting the real numbers up, which is supposed to be in the 30s, if we're putting the real numbers up, it gives us a sense of urgency that is a problem that needs to be addressed. So let's not pay too much attention to this redesignation of as long as you're working 1 hour a week, you are employed. I think it doesn't work for us, even if it works for other people in other countries. Doesn't comport with our reality today.
All right, Mr. Dyer, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking this morning is Mrs. Mrs. says, August visitors should be treated with respect. And Mr. replied, anybody who visits another family in these hard times and stays more than 2 days is a nuisance, even if it comes in June.
Okay. Well, August visitors come throughout the year, not just in August. So whether they come in June or they come in December, at this point in time, we're not welcoming visitors because we don't have food. The food in there is barely enough to feed us. Let alone an extra mile. So visitors, stay in your house. So stay, don't come for now. Everybody stay in their house until things improve.
2 days ago, I was in the market, and a bag of rice now costs 50,000 naira. And now you're saying visitors should come. I don't think people are welcoming visitors again.
No, take the welcome mat away from your door. Nobody welcome at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer, for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure, Damilola. Good morning to all our viewers. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yes, and this is where we have to end it. My name is Damilola Okunshaki. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Have a lovely Tuesday.